I'll blow my stock if you read my diary. 19 September. Then. Our show tonight was a rousing success. My rocket boots worked to perfection after the adjustments Father made, and I was able to complete the trick in such a way that it elicited gasps from the audience, yet remained perfectly safe for me. Father was so pleased that he is allowing me to take tomorrow's trolley instead of the one tonight, so that I may stay and engage in a round of roller maze. I am so excited, my boiler is near to bursting. My only regret is that Father was not able to adjust my internal clock before he departed. Well, it is not to be a worry tonight, and I am sure he will be able to resolve the problem when we are reunited on the morrow. 20 September. Then. Frost by firebox was I vexed this morning. I missed yet another appointment due to the inability of my internal clock to keep the correct time. Now, to be sure, there are appointments and there are appointments, and one is to be forgiven if a fashionable lateness allows for a grand entrance in the former. But when exacting punctuality is required for the latter, such as catching a train that leaves promptly at noon, and your arrival is 30 minutes after the departure of said train, vexation will rue the day. Thus, I found myself standing on the station platform with steam rising from my ears and baggage piled high around me. From a distance, it must have looked as if some monster had fashioned a cabin of suitcases on the platform, and, upon finishing their labor, celebrated by lighting a fire in the stove. I was obliged to send Father a telegraph informing him of my situation, and assuring him that I would be on time for tomorrow's train, even if I had to spend the night on the platform. Fortunately, it did not come to that, as the gargoyle that drove me from Miss Kindergubber's boarding house to the train station was still available to convey me back. My tardiness at the train station will, however, make it possible for me to attend the gala birthday ball being thrown in honor of a Miss Draculaura. She is the daughter of a very famous and well-to-do vampire named Dracula. I am excited to have the opportunity to make both their acquaintances. I was delighted to learn that Dr. and Mrs. Stein had arrived in town on the very train that I missed. Dr. Stein is one of my father's most respected acquaintances, and both he and his lovely bride will be attending the ball, and have offered to act as my chaperones, so that I do not have to present myself as unattended. 21 September. Then. The party was grander than I could have imagined. Every creature was dressed in their finest, and I saw many famous monsters and digniskaries. Draculaura could not have been a more kind or gracious host. I do not know how she knew I missed my train, but she did, and was very genuine in her expression of sincere concern for my predicament. I was immediately pulled into her social circle as she introduced me to her friends with such rapidity that I hardly remembered a soul when she was through. Several of them had seen me perform, however, and were quite keen on hearing my tales of daring do. Eventually, I excused myself in order to reunite myself with Dr. and Mrs. Stein, as I did not wish to appear ungrateful or rude for the kindness they had shown in escorting me to the party. I did not see either of them in the crowd, so I made my way towards a group of guests where a lively discussion seemed to be underway about what made one a true monster. The most vocal of the group was a rather corpulent goblin with a pince-nez, prominent teeth, and absurdly heavy ears. Well, of course she isn't. And how could she be? I wonder if modern mad science? Perhaps. A true monster? Never. Fashioning the flotsam and jetsam of a laboratory into some semblance of a creature does not make that creature a monster, any more so than kittens born in an oven makes them scones. Do you know the old crackpot, genius though he may be, insists on calling her his daughter? Even more preposterous is that she refers to him as her father. As if steam could replace screams. I felt as though some monster had thrown a handful of sand into my gears, and I thought, is this what every monster believes? I was about to turn and quietly slip back into the crowd when I felt a very large but gentle hand on one shoulder, and a smaller but reassuringly firm one on the other. Then a voice, at once calming to me and challenging to the speaker, said, "Perhaps Herr Goblin would care to pronounce us either kitten or scone, then." I suppose it was unladylike that I should have enjoyed the panic I saw in his face as he looked from Dr. Stein to Mrs. Stein to me, but I did. The goblin quickly stammered an excuse and unceremoniously fled the room. Later, Dracula found us and offered his sincere apology. "Miss Steam, I regret not that you heard such an insult to your monsterhood, but that it was uttered at all. It is not an opinion shared in this house. Please accept our sincere apologies. We conversed several more minutes, and he left to attend to other guests. He is indeed a true gentle monster, and the remainder of the gala was so delightful that it all but eclipsed the one brief moment of unpleasantness. 22 September. Then. Today, as I was packing to leave under the punctual eye of Miss Kindergrubber, we received word from the railroad station that sometime in the night, a very large and rather belligerent dragon had taken up residence in the main train tunnel between here and where I was to meet father. Owing to the dragon's size and coloration, it is believed that it might be preparing for hibernation. If that is indeed the case, I could be stranded here until the spring. Even though plans were being made to send for a dragon whisperer, there were no guarantees. Clog my gears and rust my bearings. What shall I do now? 1 October. Then. I passed much of today in the good company of Dr. and Mrs. Stein. I had supposed that Dr. Stein's scientific curiosity would be drawn to the nuances of my mechanical nature, but aside from some polite questions regarding energy consumption, most of the conversation centered around my relationship with my father. They had many questions on the resulting challenges of one day waking up as a fully formed monster in her teenage years, and how we dealt with those challenges as a family. I admitted that while the road has not always made for smooth traveling, we were learning to navigate the more arduous portions of it together. Several times during these conversations, it appeared to me that Miss Stein gripped the doctor's hand more tightly, and several times he seemed to be hesitant to ask certain questions. I excused myself at one point to add water to my boiler, as I was feeling a bit low. I returned to hear Miss Stein ask Dr. Stein, in their native German, "Werden wir immer ein eigenes Kind haben?" To which he replied, "Wenn die Zeit gekommen ist, das Versprechen ist dir, werden wir es." I could tell that I had interrupted a private moment, so I attempted to change the subject by asking Dr. Stein if he might have an idea why my internal clock could not keep proper time. He laughed at my request, and for a moment I felt embarrassed, until Dr. Stein said, "It has been my experience that no amount of adjustment is sufficient to make a rule run on time." For this, Dr. Stein received a playful tap from Mrs. Stein, and he continued, "Besides that, your father is the foremost mechanical mad genius in the world. It would be arrogant of me to speculate." We ended our time together with a promise to meet again. I am already looking forward to that. 15 October. Then. I received a telegraph from my father this morning informing me that he was joining a team set to explore a newly discovered area of the catacombs. I miss father and look forward to that dragon moving on so we may be reunited. Tonight, however, I shall skate in the maze with the local club against a team of gargoyles with a rather unsavory reputation. I am confident we shall prevail. 20 October. Now. I remember everything that happened to me right up until the last time I skated in the maze. It has been all I could do to daily resist the urge to let my life go to rust. The most difficulty has come from my father not being here. The team of explorers that he joined never returned from the catacombs. It has been 100 years since any monster had seen them, but I know that they are still trying to find their way home, because Ghoulia Yelps, as amazing and intelligent a ghoul as ever was, has been following any and all news about the team since before I was discovered and reassembled. She says that it's a great mystery and that there have been many books written about their mysterious disappearance. She also told me that 6 months ago, a message was found written on the wall of a previously undiscovered cabin. It read simply, "Forward to our families, onward to our hope." It was signed by my father and dated 3 months prior to the cavern's discovery. Ghoulia also helped me find my father's old lab, where I was delighted to find Captain Penny, the mechanical penguin father built for me. Poor thing's fire had completely gone out, and when I got him restarted, he was so excited that he almost blew a heart gasket. I am still living at Miss Kindergrubber's, who is now a teacher at Monster High, and it was she who convinced me to enroll. Even though I feel rather old-fashioned and am unfamiliar with much of the current technology, My new friends have been very accepting and are scary sweet. 15 November. Now, I have become reacquainted with Dr. Stein and his bride through their daughter, Frankie. Dr. Stein was sincerely apologetic for not being able to reassemble me after the accident. You are a very complicated ghoul, and I feared I would damage you further. I assured him that I carried no grudge, and I do not. Dr. Stein even interceded on my behalf with Headmistress Bloodgood, and she told me that I could not perform my Scaredevil act at the middle school carnival, as she thought it was too dangerous. I do not know what Dr. Stein said, but the headmistress relented, and I was able to give 2 performances with an encore. It was a truly epic way to bring some old school to the new, and shake off some rust in the process.